The global education crisis is widespread and insidious. UNESCO estimates that roughly 258 million children are unable to attend school and get an education every year. As we know, education is a fundamental human right and is essential for realizing other human rights. It empowers people by helping them acquire skills, knowledge, values, and attitudes that are critical for securing their basic socioeconomic needs and enables the sustainable development of their societies. It is an unmistakable tragedy that the quality and accessibility of education is not equally guaranteed for all children. Education is the gateway to a productive and fulfilling life. It is at the center of building human capital. Research conducted by the World Bank estimates that productivity and earnings of 56% of the world's children born today will be less than half what it could have been given a proper education. Remember that education is the basis for human rights, and so the human rights of all children around the world without access to education are being severely restricted and suppressed as I speak. Some of the primary barriers to education are the lack of necessary public utilities and facilities to sustain proper personal health and hygiene, persistent needs to work rather than attend school, forced childhood marriage, conflict, war, climate change, costs of school supplies and uniforms, and lastly, underqualified and underpaid teachers. Great minds have attempted to tackle this expansive education crisis for decades, most efforts proving difficult to sustain and ultimately falling short. This is a complex problem, but it demands our utmost attention and care. We cannot give up on the children. We must not only provide the education, but a safe way or a safe place for them to learn. The investment of time, money, and resources will be substantial, but the societal impact and the benefit to the millions of children and their families will be invaluable. Our project's initiative aims to provide an education to the millions of children currently without access to one. To accomplish this considerable task, we will leverage the power of technology, a devotion to recycle and reuse salvageable material for good, and the will of the people in society who want nothing more than to provide opportunity for these children. One of the most exciting technological fields emerging today is that of educational technology, and the most intriguing thing to come in this field yet is the combination of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and educational software to achieve adaptive learning, where the software assesses the individual needs of each student and creates a personalized learning pathway for them based on their strengths and weaknesses. Our project's primary objective is to develop an application like no other before in history, leveraging this modern adaptive learning technology to develop an intelligent teaching software capable of adapting to each individual student. The goal of the intelligent teaching application is to teach the user methodically as if they were learning in school, but with a personal tutor by their side throughout the entire journey. We will consult with industry experts to determine what the application needs to be effective and, more importantly, how it needs to respond to the various types of learners. This is what sets the application apart and makes it uniquely suited for this task. The software will assess each individual's learning style and learning pace and adapt so that the teaching software is optimized for every person that interacts with it. We know that every child learns differently, and if this project is going to be a success, it must meet the needs of every child. No child will be left out or left behind. It is not only my personal belief, but there is data to back the fact that we all have stake in this global education crisis. Not only do the poor children deserve the opportunity to earn an education and live productive and fulfilling lives, but their families, their communities, and society overall have emotional and practical stake in our world's next generation succeeding. A lack of education generally leads to inescapable poverty. Morally and emotionally, we should never wish this for anyone. Furthermore, terrorism and crime and disease thrive in areas where poverty does, and so we all have stake in this issue if we hope to eradicate the world of those things. According to the World Bank, education is at the center of building human capital, and when delivered well, education, along with the human capital it generates, benefits individuals and societies by raising self-esteem, furthering employment opportunities, and driving economic growth. UNESCO estimates that if all students in low-income countries just had basic reading skills and nothing else, an estimated 171 million people could escape extreme poverty. This should be what we strive to obtain for the millions of affected children worldwide, all of whom are the future citizens and leaders of this world. It is the responsibility of not only governments, but teachers, parents, and citizens to realize the promise of a proper education for all children across the globe. A solution to a complex global issue like this one requires conformity to applicable legal, professional, ethical, and social regulations and responsibilities. The project's primary focus is expanding access to education, and so, above all else, ensuring the project adheres to the most stringent of educational policies will help to ensure we are not violating policies abroad. Educational policies, in most countries, prohibit discrimination of any form, which of course falls in line with the Association of Computing Machinery Code of Ethics the project will strictly adhere to. Beyond government educational policies, we have a responsibility to the children and to society to teach the children proper material in a way compatible with most children's level of comprehension, to ensure they receive the education they are entitled to and deserve. The educational materials will be devoid of any and all bias and thus universally acceptable. This aligns with our project's Code of Ethics principles to do no harm and to be honest and trustworthy. Lastly, we will have a responsibility to perform work only in areas of competence and to deliver a robust and secure application. The application will have features that focus on privacy in order to meet the vast number of data protection policies and regulations around the world. It is through strict adherence to legal regulations and ethical principles that will make the project reputable, help in establishing a position of global trust, and help to enable the project to inspire great positive change. Education is constantly changing and adapting to both technology and how we desire to teach and learn. In the past decade or so, online schooling has become exceedingly more common and accepted as an effective and appropriate method of educating, with universities worldwide now offering complete degree programs fully over the internet. Websites that host massive open online courses have gained in popularity, along with other free resources that millions use to either supplement their education or learn subjects in their entirety. Even the coronavirus pandemic of 2020 has proven that education of all levels, K through 12 and beyond, can be moved entirely online thanks to technologies like virtual classrooms and video conferencing, and still succeed. As such, we know there's promise in obtaining a complete, quality education with the aid of computing solutions such as this project's intelligent teaching application. It is simply the way of the future, and we hope to make the most impoverished, uneducated regions of the world the pioneers of this movement. Of course, we need computers to deploy the application around the globe. We want our intelligent teaching application in computer centers and in homes in every country and in every region where education is lacking or inaccessible. As a nonprofit, we plan to work with other non-governmental organizations and nonprofits to finance the procurement of budget laptop computers. As we know it will be impossible to fund enough computers to accommodate 258 million children, we also plan to start an initiative for every member of society to donate old, unused and recyclable computer and electronic hardware so that we can not only refurbish and distribute as many as possible, but we can also keep all of that waste out of landfills, effectively tackling two very different problems with one solution. Between these two initiatives, we plan to distribute roughly 50 million computers preloaded with our sophisticated, intelligent teaching software within the first 2 years, and upwards of 150 million within 5 years. Of course, we are in the planning phase. We are out here trying to spread the word of our initiative and entice members of society to contribute. These numbers are merely estimates based on goals we have in place for the project. With your charitable contributions, these numbers could be much higher. We are optimistic that this initiative will be a resounding success with nothing but greatly positive impact on society and the lives of millions of children. Of course, we must plan for negative consequences as well. Some negative outcomes and resistance we are planning for is extremists or terrorists intercepting distributed hardware or destroying our hardware in efforts to control the populace and stop them from educating themselves. Another possibility is the intentional hacking of the software, where bad actors swap legitimate educational media with persuasive propaganda in efforts to push their political views or their agenda. Lastly, it is possible children or families might be targeted for the purposes of stealing their hardware we distribute to them, since most of the places will be very impoverished and people are unpredictable when they are trying to survive. Back on the positives now, project success will mean greatly improved access to education for children globally, increased opportunity and job prospects, global economic growth, and global reduction in crime. Data for these points will all be collected following the initial distribution of hardware to children around the world and will continue to be monitored for many years, as it is likely there will be a delayed effect for some of the variables like economic growth and crime rates. The data will be compared to current pre-launch data to determine the efficacy of our solution. One final positive outcome, which will be difficult to measure but is of equal importance as the others, is the overall increase in happiness and fulfillment of the children who finally get an opportunity to learn and improve their lives. With this plan and our intelligent teaching software, we will expand global access to education, improve global standards for teaching, introduce sustainable education methods to areas of the world where teachers and facilities are in short supply, and most importantly, positively impact the lives of millions of children and all of society.